The best way to sell books on Amazon in 2025 is through Amazon to Amazon book flips, also known as online book arbitrage. And my goal in this video is to convince you, if you're not doing that now, if you're selling books in some other way, to stop what you're doing and start doing it my way. Now, I know that sounds arrogant and conceited, but the truth is I've sold tens of thousands of books. I've seen all the other different types of models for selling books on Amazon. And I can honestly say that what I've been able to hone into is how you make the most money with the least amount of effort. And that's why I do what I do. Being to the channel, my name is Joji Davenport. I'm a retired high school chemistry teacher. Now I do online book arbitrage. And like I said, I've been doing this over the last 8 to 9 years, and I've really learned quite a lot from having done it over that time and also seeing all the other different types of book selling. Now, just like so many of you, I actually started with free book pickups, library sales, going to thrift stores, finding books out in the wild. But one of the things that I needed as I got older and got a 9-to-5 job was control over my time. And there's like the first reason why I think online book arbitrage and Amazon to Amazon book flips are really king when it comes to book selling. And that's simply that it requires very low time. When you think about it, what makes you money as a bookseller is finding profitable books. And so if you were to look at all the different types of book selling, you have to think, how long does it take you until you get your hands on a profitable book? When it comes to thrifting, you actually have to go outside your house, get into a car, go drive to a thrift store. And depending on how close or far away you live, that could be anywhere, very fast, 5 minutes, longer, up to 20 to 30 minutes, just before you could even touch a book that has the potential of being profitable. In other words, the time it takes for you to even just touch a profitable book is 15 to 20 minutes on average. And then of course you have to drive to the next thrift store, to the next library sale. Same thing with free book pickups, right? Not only do you have to, create an ad and then message back and forth to someone, then you actually have to get in your car and go drive maybe 30 or 40 minutes to go meet this person and then grab those books, come home, and it might be an hour before you even can put your hands on a profitable book. With online book arbitrage, it's so different. You literally just open up the screen to your laptop, you log on to bookmine, you log on to keepa, and within 5 seconds, you have profitable books right there on the tip of your fingers. And so the reason why it's a low time investment is because it just doesn't take very long to find profitable books. It's literally like that. And I would challenge you, if you're somebody who is thrifting or going to library sales or doing free book pickups, to actually write down on a given day when you are working. Let's say you put in 5 or 6 hours a day, write down or time how long it takes you to do these activities. In a 5-hour workday, it might take you 2 or 3 hours just to drive, just because of the fact that the nature of going to find books out in the wild means you actually have to go from point A to point B to point C. And in other words, it's not a very efficient use of your time. But on the other hand, if you're sourcing books online for 2 or 3 hours, you might have the same amount of time actually touching profitable books because of the fact that you don't actually need to go anywhere. Now, the second reason why I think selling books on Amazon through Amazon and Amazon book flips is the way to go is that you actually have control over the type of inventory or the type of books that you are able to sort through. If you go to a thrift store, you are limited to what's on that bookshelf. And even though going to a thrift store seems like, wow, there's these massive bookshelves with a couple thousand books, the reality is if you source online, you can access 100 million books and filter that down to the books that meet your criteria. Again, bookmine would do that for you really quickly. You could use keepa product finder filters or keepa deals filters as well. And essentially you can, actually control what types of books you want to buy. Like you want to buy textbooks. You want to buy books that have an average selling price over $50. And you want to only sell books that have a sales rate under $1 million. You actually get to control the types of books you're after, which is something you don't control at all when you go to a library sale or you go to a thrift store or you do free book pickups. In my opinion, this makes a much more sustainable book business model because of the fact that you don't really know what kinds of books you're going to come across in the wild if you do go thrifting or you do go to library sales or you do free book pickups. But when you're on Amazon, you know that, okay, there's 100 million titles on Amazon right now. I get to choose which one of those 100 million I want to buy today. You actually, again, have control over, this is the exact type of book that I want. These are the types of books that are profitable to me. These are the books that I actually want to buy. Now, as I mentioned earlier in the video, the reason why I do online book arbitrage is because when I think of resources of both time and money, I think of them as not necessarily one being more important than the other, but them almost being one thing. In other words, time is money and money is time. And so if I can, let's say, save time, that's just as good as making more money. And therefore, if I also make more money, that saves me time. And so when you think about online book arbitrage, you get to leverage a bunch of automation at a level with which you can't leverage if you do, book pickups, if you do thrifting, and so on. And what I mean by that is when you actually buy a book on Amazon, that book can be shipped right to a prep center. In other words, you don't even need to touch that book at all in order for it to end up at the Amazon warehouse. You buy the book online, it goes to the actual Amazon, or it goes to your prep center, and then it goes to an Amazon warehouse. It is then put on a shelf by a robot or a human being. And then when a customer buys it, it gets sent to the customer. Amazon does all the fulfillment, customer service, and they simply just give you money for the book that you sold. In other words, it doesn't really seem like you're much of a bookseller because of the fact that you don't ever even touch the book. It just, again, goes to the prep center, goes to Amazon, sits on a shelf, goes right to the customer, and then you just repeat the cycle over and over again. And that entire process is so automated. It's like one of the best things about this business is the fact that you get to leverage other people's time and work and pay very little for it. And what I mean by that is, if I buy a book and ship it to a prep center, I'll get charged $2.25 per my prep center, Central Virginia Prep. But that encompasses somebody actually opening the package, inspecting the book, listing it, putting it in a box, and sending it off to Amazon. I mean, that's a lot of effort and a lot of work. And if you're somebody who does go thrifting, free book pickups, you get books out in the wild, that's a lot of work. It takes a lot of time to put together a box of books and get them shipped to Amazon. And the cool thing about you having a prep center and also you having the Amazon warehouse and having Amazon fulfill all your products is that you get to be an employer without really being an employer. That makes sense. Like, it's not like you have to have meetings with your team and go, okay, we need to talk about our KPIs. We need to talk about, when your lunch break is. We need to talk about your insurance. Like, none of that. Like, you get all of this automation without actually needing to be an employer and worry about all the hassle and all the headache that comes with having employees. So you basically get employees without really being a real employer, if that makes sense. And I cannot understate how important that is because of the fact that all you really need with A2A book flips or online book arbitrage is to understand what types of books that you're looking for and what types of books to buy. Because once you find those books, pretty much everything else is automated just by the nature of the way that the business is run. Now, the fourth reason why I think this is the best model in 2025 and into the future is that it is the safest way to sell books on Amazon. And what I mean by that is currently, as of the recording of this video, every time you buy a book on Amazon, you do get an Amazon invoice and an Amazon order ID, which you can use in the case that you get an IP complaint or a counterfeit claim. You simply just you appeal the claim, you provide the Amazon order ID that Amazon gives you as an option to appeal the claim with. And in every case that I've seen, that Amazon order ID has actually worked. Now, again, that's just as of the recording of this video, which I believe is May 13th of 2025. Maybe in the future that changes. But again, think of the alternative. If you go buy a book at a thrift store, you get it from a free book pickup, you find it on Facebook Marketplace, you find it at a library sale. None of those are going to have the same weight in terms of the probability of being able to get that claim appealed. So when it comes down to it, selling used books on Amazon, selling anything on Amazon is not completely risk-free. All you can do is try to mitigate the risk as much as possible. And from what I've seen, it's very easy to actually get an IP complaint removed, to get a counterfeit claim removed, again, if you have an Amazon order ID because you bought the book on Amazon. So if you're somebody who's really worried about keeping your account safe, then what would interest you is making sure that you actually have the ability to back up where you bought these books from. And again, you can do that with the Amazon order invoice and Amazon order ID through the Amazon book flipping method. Now, the fifth reason why I think this type of book selling is the best is because of the margins relative to the amount of time and effort you have to put in to get those margins. So, of course, you can go to a thrift store and you can buy a book for $1 and potentially sell for $80 or $100 or $150 or maybe even way more than that and have this huge ROI. But again, what we have to think about is how quality is the inventory on average that you're getting relative to what you pay for, not just in money, but also in time. Remember how I already told you the way I think about time is not necessarily separated from money. I think time and money are essentially the same thing. So when you think of the cost of a book, I don't necessarily think of the cost in the monetary value. I think of the cost in the also time value as well. So how much time and how much money was required for you to actually get ownership of this book? Well, with online book arbitrage, like I mentioned, you can utilize Keepa to find books that meet your criteria, to find books that get you 50% ROI, to get books that, can return 100% ROI. And so books relative to any other categories, just insane, unheard of in terms of the actual margins that you can get on any individual flip. And what's really cool about book flips as well is once you do find winning books, you can have them as replens, put them on a replens list and buy them over and over and over again. But the idea is that you again get to control what type of inventory you're buying, which means that you can control the cost on those books. You can also control how much time it takes you to find those books as well. And in the end, the margins that you're getting on these books relative to thrifting or bulk books or free book pickups, in my opinion, is greater. And the sixth reason why I think this is the best way to go is because it is actually scalable because of all of the systems put into place without your doing. For example, if you have a prep center, great. All you needed to do to set it with a prep center with Central Virginia Prep is send them a quick email. All of a sudden, they have you onboarded. They have a bunch of employees to help you ship as many books as you can buy to the Amazon warehouse. So there's no problems with you scaling there because they basically say, great, ship to us as many books as you can, as much as you can spend. And it doesn't matter if it's 10 books a week or 1,000 books a week, like they have the ability in order to do that. So in that way, it's like infinitely scalable, again, without you needing any of the headache or, figuring out how to grow your team or do any of the hard work that the prep center actually has to do on their own. Now, beyond that as well, the Amazon warehouse, you have unlimited space that you can use. And I know what someone's going to say is, that's not true, Joji. You only have 100 cubic feet or there's actually a storage limit. But the thing is, if you understand how storage capacity limits work, you can always request more space and get 100% of that refunded through performance credits. So essentially, if you're a bookseller who knows what you're doing, it's basically free space. Now, again, the warehouses are huge, right? You're not limited with how much space that's available to store your books there. And also, you're not limited by the number of employees Amazon has or the number of robots Amazon has or the number of trucks Amazon has to get all those books to the customer. So I guess what I'm saying here is that this business model is very scalable in a way that, let's say, thrifting or free book pickups may or cannot be. Now, of course, you could have a team of thrifters that go out and you hire them. But again, then you actually have employees that you have to manage. You could also have a bunch of people that help you with free book pickups. But again, also you have a bunch of employees to manage. You could do both books as well, but again, you need a bunch of employees that you need to manage. So it's not necessarily like that those other things aren't scalable. It's just like the way I think about it is, how scalable is it relative to the amount of time and money that you have to put into it? For me, it's just a no-brainer. With the 6 things that I just covered, online book arbitrage to Amazon book flips wins every single time. Because again, it, in my eyes, is the easiest way to make the most money with the least amount of effort. In other words, the least amount of time. So this is a little bit different of a video. White background. I did change kind of my setup. Hopefully we enjoy it. Hopefully I can put something in the back there so it's not just a white background. But this is really the reason why I think online book arbitrage, Amazon to Amazon book flips is the way to go selling on Amazon with book flipping. If you enjoyed the video, let me know. If you didn't, let me know down below in the comment section. I'm sure a lot of people who do thrifting, free book pickups, library sales, bulk books, anything other than online book arbitrage are probably going to have a bunch of defenses to those claims that I just made, and that's great. I love to read them and hear them, and I'll be happy to respond to them. But that's all I got for you today. I'll see you all in the next one. Peace out.